Okay, so apparently my wife's car has a problem, and that problem manifested itself the other day. It was running beautifully, and I took it down to the emissions test center, and as I was sitting waiting in line to go in, it started idling poorly, and it just kept it up, and finally, by the time I'd gotten up to go in, it had thrown a code, so it immediately failed, and that code is P0300, or random misfire. On this car, there's a number of things that can cause it. It could be a leak in this boot here. Oops, let me get out of the light. It could be a leak in this boot here, and I have pulled the covers off the top of it so we can see it. Could be a leak in this boot here because it's on the other side of the mass airflow sensor. It could be a manifold leak. I mean, it's not going to be a plug or a coil or an injector, or I would get an individual cylinder misfire, and they're all misfire. As you may have saw if you watched my launch scanner video, every cylinder is misfiring. The ones that seem to do it the worst are cylinders 1 and 8. And now I don't know for a fact, but I'm guessing they're the cylinders on this end. Because what's happening here and what's gone wrong is there is a rubber boot down in here that connects the intake manifold to this big giant cast aluminum bracket, and then the throttle body bolts to that side. So I've got a leak going directly into there where air's getting in, and it's causing it to run lean and misfire. So I'm going to start by pulling a bunch of these odds and ends of hoses and things out of the way. I've never done this job before, but I have been told that it looks worse than it really is. The intake manifold has to come out, and some folks have said this is a plastic intake manifold, and I suppose it might be. At some point in time, I don't know if they all were, it was only certain years, but I'm going to treat it very carefully. The injector rails have to come out, and whatever else is in the way of lifting that up off of there has to come out. We'll have to put a new boot in, and we'll have to put the new silicone seals on the manifold. I've got that all coming. It's not here yet, but should be here today or tomorrow. So let's just start by pulling a bunch of these hoses and things off. So let me show you where I'm at. First, I meant to show this and I lost the video doing it, but these fuel lines right here, they plug in under here. There is a little clip thing. Looks like I lost the one on there already, but you'll see it here. You got to pop that little clip off. They're connected to a little cable, and the little cable there broke, and I see the other one down there. I got it. There it is. So these clip around here and around here. Then you need a set of these little plastic tools. They're probably 10 bucks down at Harbor Freight. You pop those, they're split on one side. You pop them around on here, and then you squeeze them up in here, and you can see there's little like tangs sticking out, little legs sticking out, and it releases those, and then you can just yank these out the top. Unbolt the injectors. There are 4. Unplug this, of course, from there. This hose has to come off. Then there are four studs actually holding the injectors on either side. Then all the injectors should just pop out. Be gentle with them because a lot of this is probably plastic. So be gentle with it. I've already broken one of these small tiny plastic, you know, like 1/8-inch plastic lines. I'll have to patch it with a piece of hose. But you know what? 20-year-old car that's lived its whole life in the desert, that plastic is going to be brittle as can be. Next thing is there are 10 bolts with these funky spacers on it holding the manifold on. You also want to make sure to loosen the clamp around this boot that we think is what's wrong. And next, I forgot to loosen this. I'm going to pull all these bolts out. Then this should, in theory, lift off. So I've got all the bolts off. Everything I can think of is unattached. That manifold should lift up from this end and slide that way out of that boot. I've never done this before, so it's going to be interesting. Remember, most of this is plastic, so be gentle. Sorry, I couldn't really get that on camera there. Couldn't get my head and legs and everything in position. The problem, what was holding it, let me see if it'll come out of there now. There we go. What was holding it is this rubber thing. I don't know what the heck that thing is, but that rubber thing that's stuck in there was catching on, see if you can see it, there is a kind of a projection on the back of this power steering mount that probably doesn't need to be there, and it was catching under that. You can either try and pry that rubber thing in, or you can just throw caution to the wind and try and pry it past it. I did a combination of the two, and I got it. Wasn't very happy about it. Now we want to replace all these silicone seals as well, and I'm going to vacuum around in there. And hey, you want to know how fun it is to replace a starter motor on one of these? There it is, right there. Yes, the starter motor is underneath the plastic intake manifold. Brilliant! I'm going to see what they cost. I might just replace it for the hell of it. And I don't know who designed this engine. They actually got awards for it, believe it or not, until, of course, 3 years down the road and they started failing left and right because they put little tiny head bolts in it. But that's another story. So, let's get this out of the way. Let's get our boot out, and let's look to see if our boot looks like it's what our problem was. Yeah, there's our problem. The boot's all torn underneath. Let me see if I can show you that. That's absolutely the problem. Can you see it right down in here? Right down in here. When I pull it out, you'll see light in between there. Look at that down in there. I can stick my finger through that. That top bolt, don't know if you can see where my finger is, but that's where that top bolt is right there. And that bottom bolt is, well, trust me, if you get your head jacked into just the right position, you can see it. Those are going to be fun. Hey, that was loads of fun. Here's the part here. You can probably see better. Hold it up to the light. See if I can get my fingers on it. There we go. Can you see where it's torn there? That's the problem. That's why it's misfiring. Now, to get those 3 bolts out, you don't have to take the bolts out, you can leave them in place. But to get this one over here out, to get room for the extension, I don't know if you can see it down here, to get room for the extension, I pulled the, what I'm guessing is a throttle position sensor out. To get this one out over here, I pulled the mass airflow sensor and the boot out so that I could come in this way. I might have been able to do that with that in place, but it would have been much more difficult, and it was really easy to pull that out to get the bolt down and under there off, because it's right there where my fuck you finger goes, and it would have been difficult with that boot there. So I don't know what's wrong with the people who design engines this way. I'm sure it seemed extremely efficient to them at the time and space saving, but I don't know. Anyway, I got the new part here. Let me show you the new part. I'm going to vacuum in there and cover it up and call it a day, because my back will only take so much of this stooping over cars. So here's the new part, and they even give you a new clamp with it. And the good thing is it's not torn like this one is. And I got the silicone replacement gaskets for the manifold. And I think this whole kit was about $35 or so on Amazon. I'll put an affiliate link to it below. We appreciate your opinions. It's made by Dorman, so it's probably a couple of steps up from the average parts you'd buy from China. Dorman stuff has been pretty good, made in Malaysia, so that's the good stuff these days, sadly enough. Anyway, I'm going to vacuum around under there and cover that up, and I'm going to come back out tomorrow or the next day, put it back together. Okay, it is all back together and running as smooth as glass again. Oh, it's all back together except you know, the top engine cover and this front cover here, which just pop on. But it is running smooth as glass. There was nothing really worthy of note about putting it back together again. There was a couple of minor things. Let me shut it off and we'll talk about them real quick. I bought the Dorman kit that came with the plenum boot that goes in there and with the manifold gaskets. Oh, one thing, I'm sure y'all were screaming at me who've done this before, that I, instead of trying to loosen that and pull the manifold out of the boot, I should have taken those 3 bolts off first and then it would have come out easier. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, because that's how I put it back together, and it certainly, I don't think it went back together any easier. Still was a wrestling match to get that manifold back down. As I was saying, I bought the Dorman kit, and it came with the manifold gaskets, you know, those silicone rubber seals. Everybody claims they are too small and they don't fit, and they are correct. And they say they bought the Felpro gaskets for another 12 bucks or so, and they fit right. But you know something, I'm thinking to myself, there is no real method of retaining for those seals. They fit in that groove, but there's nothing to hold it in the groove. Gravity can drop it out. And since you're going to flip it over and wrestle it around, I am not going to be comfortable with doing that without gluing it. And if I'm going to glue it, I might as well glue the Dorman ones because they're not that much too small. So I did. I just put like 6 drops, cleaned the channel out really well with brake clean, and I think I used carb cleaner, and then put like 6 drops of super glue around the groove, and then just pressed the gasket down until it was glued in, and they stayed in fine that way. And then I also greased everything with dielectric grease. Every piece of rubber on the thing that was going to move against another piece of rubber, I greased with dielectric grease. There is also, and I can't remember if it was in a different video or what, but this line here, it goes down in and it connects to a pipe, a rubber 90-degree elbow that goes into the center of the intake manifold, and that elbow, I'm told, is almost always cracked. Mine was. Let me see if it's still sitting in here if I threw it away. Mine was cracked. Oh yeah, here's half of it right here. I tore it the rest of the way getting the pipe off of it. And O'Reilly's had a Dorman replacement. Let me get it for you. I think the package is still sitting here. It's like $9 frickin' for that little rubber. There's the Permatex dielectric grease I bought because I couldn't find my other tube. And where is the package that rubber, anyway, I don't see it here. I don't remember throwing it away. Let's see if I threw it away or if it just disappeared. It just disappeared like everything around here. Anyway, oh no, there it is on the floor. A place for everything and everything in its place, and that place is the floor. This is the rubber elbow I bought, a Dorman number 47029. It had a little ridge on it that I cut off because the clamp was going to be in the way. But it worked perfectly other than that. Put the elbow on and put the pipe in the manifold before you put the manifold back on. Because once you put the manifold back on, it's hard to get that hose plugged into it. I made a tool here so I could reach down and hold the bottom of that pipe, bottom of that elbow up while I pushed the hose onto it. Because I didn't want to pull the manifold back off, obviously. So apparently there were a few things of note. I said there was nothing of note. It seemed like it went back together pretty easily. Whoever said, and I can't remember where I read it or heard it, but whoever said this is looks a lot harder than it really is was right. It really wasn't all that bad. So I'm done for the day. I'm going to come back out tomorrow and run it a little bit more. Make sure it doesn't set the code, and then I'll put the covers back on. Anyway, thanks for watching this little bit of fun, and I will catch you guys later. Bye for now.